This desk was in the home office when we moved in, but it's too small and it had to go. Problem is, when we pulled the desk out, we were going to have to repaint. But worse, the molding, the trim of the floor was missing because it was a built-in. It's just another project. So I found an old can of paint in the basement from January of 2016. Let's see how it looks. That is really pretty thick, but I read the can and you can thin it with water. So let's thin it and mix it. I highly recommended getting one of these paint mixers for your drill. It does wonders. Keep adding water till it looks good. Now for the moment of truth. Does it match the wall paint? It doesn't look very good now, but once it's dry and after the second coat, it's a perfect match. Bad news. The old trim is thinner and shorter than what I can buy today. Looks like everything on that wall has to come out. We start by pulling out the old trim. I have a small wonder bar and a medium wonder bar. They do wonders, but you have to be very careful not to damage the floor and the drywall. Here's a trick. Take a box cutter and cut the caulk at the top of the trim. This way, it doesn't tear the paint when you remove it, and it's just a whole lot easier. Here's another great hack. When you're going to push your bar against the drywall, put a drywall knife behind it. That spreads the force and keeps you from puncturing and denting the drywall. This will save you a ton of time in the future. I want to use the oak quarter round, so I want to make sure I don't damage it removing it. Again, you don't want to damage the floor. Here's the trick again with the drywall knife. It works wonders and I've used it for decades. Again, my tricks are cut the caulk with the box cutter, use drywall knives on the floor and the drywall to prevent damage from the wonder bars, and use small and the medium-sized wonder bars. Take your drywall knife and gently scrape the top to make sure that where the caulk was on the wall comes off cleanly, but be careful not to tear it. Here's another trick or a hack. Use nippers to remove finish nails and pull them through from the back. That way it doesn't damage the front. Grab it and rock it on the nose of the nippers, and that'll pull it a little bit at a time. Very small bites gets the job done cleanly and with minimal damage. The first coat looked pretty good. Second coat, it'll look even better. Perfect, as a matter of fact. Well, I bought the taller and thicker trim because that's all I could get. The one piece on the long wall will have a square end on both ends, and then we'll do cope cuts. It's good to sand a little back relief on the molding. Crap, like I said, it's thicker, so I'm going to have to remove and cut this oak molding. It's always good to use a stud finder and find your studs. I marked them with tape so I didn't mark on the wall. You can see how good the paint matches. First thing you do when you make a cope joint is you cut it at 45 degrees. 45-degree cut shows us where to cut with the coping saw. We want to remove all of the non-white natural wood color. Just cut down the transition line with your coping saw. I like to cut just a hair of a relief so that the joint fits better, and a quick sand never hurt. Sorry for the camera angle. I like to leave the longboards just enough so it bows out. Not so much that when I push it in and it's tight on both ends that it doesn't flatten to the wall. If you want to plan ahead, put the bottom nail below the quarter round and you don't have to fill the hole. Now we need to put on the final couple pieces of trim, and then I need to add the oak quarter round, which had to be shortened again. Now let's start on the oak quarter round. You can see that I did the right-hand side and then the left-hand side because that's my one filler piece. Believe it or not, I had that extra piece in the basement and it's about 2 inches longer than it needs to be. It is good to be lucky. So I marked the length, went downstairs, cut it to fit, and nailed it in place. My lucky day. Oh crap, my luck didn't hold. Because the baseboard is wider, that means my last 2 pieces don't fit, and they're too short. off to the store. My luck had ended. It was so close. Off to the store, bought 2 feet of unfinished 3/4 inch oak quarter round. I stained it to match. The last piece, I had to cut a cope cut. Here's another little hack. Take your hammer and slightly tap the corners to fold it in a little bit. This will reduce the gap, but don't hit it too hard. The blue tape is for the polyurethane top coat I need to add to the last 2 pieces. Now we need to use white caulk to fill the gaps. Pretty small, but it still looks better to do it. One nail didn't go deep enough, so I got a nail set and drove it home. That's better. I like to use a drywall knife to make sure I don't spread the caulk too far. Looking good. You can see drywall is never flat. That's why the caulk helps. Be clean, and there's less cleanup. Now to add the polyurethane top coat. For the nail holes in the oak quarter round, I use plastic wood filler, and then I do a touch-up with a cherry stain, which matches the oak. This worked really good. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, and ring the bell. I appreciate you watching the Johnsonville Woodworker.